Brands like Wilson, Magico, Macintosh, and Past Labs are often seen as making endgame level components and loudspeakers, but the truth is you can achieve endgame-like results for a fraction of what even a single pair of Magico speakers cost. You are always asking for recommendations that can go toe-to-toe with some of the endgame systems we review. So for this video, I'm putting together 3 high-end setups built around a pair of speakers, a preamp, an amplifier or an integrated amplifier, and 2 different sources. Think turntable, streamer, or CD player. The total budget for each system is a healthy one, capped at $10,000, which I get it, it's a lot of money. But I also know that going all out on a pair of Wilsons and mating them to, I don't know, Mark Levinson, as cool as that would be, just isn't an option for everyone. Kicking things off with a system that you'll love, especially if you're faced with space limitations. Grounding this build is a pair of Bowers & Wilkins 705 S3 bookshelf speakers. At $3,800 for the pair, the 705s come within spitting distance of their big brother, the 805 D4, costing $10 grand, lacking only a hint of added bass extension and a bit more top-end refinement, but not to worry because we'll address that in just a moment. These 705s have the ability to sound larger than they physically are, not to mention they play solidly down to about the mid 40 hertz range. In small to even medium-sized rooms, they'll sound low enough for most music and movies that you may even decide to skip a sub. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely elevate the 705's overall performance by adding a subwoofer, but in tight quarters, try them first without one before you decide to open your pocketbook. The real highlight of the 705, or any B&W in my opinion, is their voicing. You know, the ability to sound detailed and engaging even at lower volumes. Now, I know some like to criticize B&W's sound, but I dare you to spend more than a minute with the 705s and then try and tell me that other speakers don't sound vague by comparison. However, if you want a little more bass, top-end refinement, and have the space to accommodate a slightly larger bookshelf speaker, you could swap out the B&Ws for the Monitor Audio Gold 100 6G speakers. It's going to raise the cost of the system by $800, which may require some adjustments elsewhere to keep the overall budget under 10 grand. But it's still really doable. Regardless of which speaker we choose, we need a solid amp to drive them. Now, this may be an unexpected pick, but I'm going with Cambridge Audio's EXA 100 integrated amplifier priced at $2,400. The Cambridge churns out 100 watts of Class AB power and has a sound that is full-bodied and refined, if not a touch smooth or, say, breathy around the edges, which is just what the doctor ordered if you find the B&W's top end to be a little too extended. The EXA 100 gave me serious Macintosh vibes for a fraction of the cost. Plus, it has a built-in DAC as well as HDMI with ARC capability, which means you can connect it to a TV, giving you the ability to go from a strict 2-channel system to a hybrid 2.0 or 2.1 channel home theater down the road. Next, I'm adding Cambridge Audio's EXN 100 streamer. Not only does it visually complement its sister amp, but the EXN 100 adds class-leading streaming and wireless capability to our setup. The CXN and EXN look and sound great together. Yeah, you could go with a Wim or an Eversolo and save a little, but I'm not looking to hide the money we're spending this go-around. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm closing this system out by adding my reference turntable, the Alva TT V2, also from Cambridge. I love this turntable and its included cartridge. Naysayers can poo-poo its Bluetooth playback capability all they want, but they'd be wrong to do so. Besides, when was giving users flexibility not been considered a selling point? Anyway, this Bowers & Wilkins all Cambridge audio mashup will run you just under $9,500, leaving just enough left over for accessories like stands and cables. This might end up being my favorite system of the whole video. The SVS Titan Tower speakers continue to be one of our personal references. While they aren't the absolute best in terms of finish, I mean, come on, gloss white or black isn't exactly breaking the mold in 2025. Their unique time-aligned design and shape are more sculptural than, say, your run-of-the-mill 3-way tower speaker. Looks aside, they're large, coherent, and three-dimensional sound, along with near full range bass capability, is undeniable. At $4,000 a pair, they are an embarrassment of sonic riches. And if I may go out on a tangent for just a moment, for version 2, I hope SVS adds more bracing and weight to the cabinet. Give these speakers the last few percent of damping and grounding that they're missing, and you're ready to challenge the big boys like Wilson. No joke. Now here's where I'm likely going to ruffle some feathers. I'm going to pair the Titans with the Marantz Model M1 at $1,000. Go ahead, take away my audiophile card. I don't need it. I'm doing it anyway. I freaking love the Marantz Model M1. It has become my go-to do-everything test amp at this point because I have yet to come across a speaker that doesn't cost, big money, that doesn't sound good with it. And now that it supports Dirac, yes, I know Dirac costs extra, but imagine being able to dial in the Titans to near perfection in any space. Not bad for a do-it-all amplifier that costs less than $1,000. Now, because the M1 features HIOS, which is a fully functional streaming platform, not unlike what you'll get by buying a separate streamer, all we need to do is add a turntable, and we'll have a two-source hi-fi setup. Now, the M1, it doesn't have a built-in phono preamp, but the turntable that I've spec'd for this build does. The Technics SL1500C, which comes with the Ortofon Red cart, is where, for me, the rubber meets the road among Technics turntables. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of the Red, but at $1,500 for the Technics, there is room in the budget for a substantial cartridge upgrade. So I'm swapping it out for Ortofon's 2M Black LVB, which, in my opinion, is the best moving magnet cart Ortofon has on offer. If you're newer to vinyl, you can save around $500 by going with the standard 2M Black. It's also a great cartridge and an even better value, but for my diehards, sticking with the Beethoven, which brings this Technics, Marantz, and Titan combo to $7,872, including the license for Dirac to dial everything in. Before we move on to our next system, Christy is throwing me a curveball because she says she's going with the lower price Ortofon Black cartridge and putting the savings towards the SVS SB17 subwoofer because who are we kidding? She thinks most of you won't hear a difference in the cart anyway, but you will hear a difference with the SB17. It is a crazy powerful subwoofer and will make even the most audiophile of audiophiles weak in the knees. And you're gonna have a thunderous system for $10,071. Yeah, she knows she went over budget by $71. She said to take it up with your mom. It's worth it. Isn't she a keeper? What if we expand this giant killer system and make it a multi-channel one? Let's stick with the Titans and add their matching center and a pair of Ultra Evolution Nanos for surround channels, giving us a 5-channel speaker package for $5,700. If the Titans aren't your jam, you could go with the Definitive Technology DM80s. I often forget about these speakers, even though we really enjoyed them during our review. The DefTechs will run you $3,800 for the pair, and that's an insane value given that they have 12-inch powered subs built in. Add the DM30 center speaker and a pair of DM40 towers for rears, and you are at $5,559 for a 5.3 surround sound speaker package, and that's less than the cost of the 5-channel SVS system. I think the Titan setup is more refined and capable of a bit more finesse, but I can't argue with the DefTech's overall value proposition, especially if you're a true bass head. Since the Model M1 is obviously a stereo-only amp, I'm grabbing the Cinema 50 home theater receiver for $2,800. It has a little bit more power, which is going to benefit the Ultra Evolution speakers, and it can be upgraded to include Dirac for an additional $350. Since we're building a home theater-focused system, I'm ditching the turntable for a Panasonic Blu-ray player, which costs $425, bringing our system total to $9,275. Lastly, I'm grabbing the SVS SB1000 Pro subwoofer at $600 for a 5.1 home theater system that falls right at $9,875. If your TV is due for an update and you have the room to go over our budget, an 85-inch TCL QM7K is currently on sale for just under $1,700, bringing our total cost to $11,575, and that is for a theater that I swear will make the hairs on anyone's neck stand up come movie night. Bringing things back to the two-channel realm, here's something maybe a little unexpected. I'm going to start with Andrew Jones's SourcePoint 888 speakers at $5,500 a pair. These speakers are shockingly good across the board and have enough of that old school flair that I could see many preferring them visually to, say, the more futuristic and glossy Titans. But similar to the Titans, the SourcePoint towers are near full range, dynamic, and when set up correctly, absolutely boundary-defying and expressive. And with a nominal impedance of 6 ohms, these speakers don't necessarily need insane amounts of power to come alive, but you also don't want to skimp either, which is why Rotel's RAS 5000 streaming integrated amplifier at $3,000 is getting the nod. Now, I was eyeing the HiFi Rose RA280, which also pairs really well with the 888s, but at $3,400 plus the cost of a streamer and additional sources, the Rose put me over budget. Not to worry, the Rotel is more than up to the task. In my testing, it was essentially indistinguishable from the 1592 Mark II, which we loved, only the 5000 adds features such as built-in streaming, wireless, and HDMI. So all that's left is to pick out our second source. The Rotel does not have a built-in phono preamp, so if we want to add a turntable to this setup, I'd still recommend the Technics 1500C or Alva TT V2. However, let's skip a turntable for this one and instead grab a CD player. To keep it all in the family, I'm going with Rotel's CD11 Mark II in silver for $665, bringing the total system price to $9,165. Now, this CD player doesn't have balanced outputs, but Rotel's RCD 1572 single disc player does. However, it puts us $100 over our $10,000 budget. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say if we're spending 10 grand, that extra $100 isn't gonna be the deal breaker for what is, tantamount to a hi-fi setup that will absolutely go toe to toe with costlier competition. But either way, look, you got options. So there you go. There's a couple of endgame level systems that don't command endgame level prices. What did you guys think? Sound off in the comments below. You guys have really been liking these videos, and I'm really curious what you would do with a budget of $10,000. So let's build some systems down in the comments below. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system in the end is you. So happy listening. Thank you again for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.